Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ksubas daf Samach Vav. We are going to begin on the bottom of Samach Hamid Beis by the new Mishnah, new Parak. Metzias Isha, all the findings of a woman, as well as Umas Yodeha and the work of her hands, Labala. Seems pretty clear that she gives these things to her husband. V'Yerushasa, says Rashi, Im nafal Yerusha. If let's say an inheritance comes her way, says Rashi, Hu oichel peros b'chayeha, so he gets to eat the fruits in her lifetime, v'keren shalah, and she gets to keep the principal. So Hu oichel peros b'chayeha. Fine. And then the Mishnah says, Boshta upagama shalah. In the event that she is somehow damaged and therefore part of the responsibility is paying for Boshes Pagam, so she gets the Boshes Upagam. Fine, which we're going to be tackling question 8 soon, which is Hamavayish Isha Nesua. If you're Mavayish, a married woman, so Lami Demei HaBoishes. Who receives the Demei Boishes? So according to this, it's pretty clear that she gets to keep it. However, not everyone agrees. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Omer Mizman Shebeseiser. Let's say the wound or embarrassment was something which was in a concealed manner or a concealed area, then Losh Nechalakim V'lo Echad. So she will get the majority of it. She gets 2/3, and her husband will get 1/3. However, the Mizman Shebegoloi Lo Shnei Chalakim V'lo Echad. If the other way around, if it's a busha, the busha, which is outward, so then in that situation, he also receives damages because now his wife has this terrible bruise, which is unsightly. Obviously, it's painful for her too. So there's busha for him and for her, so he gets 2/3. Shelo yinasein miyad. So for him, he gets it immediately. Mishlah, when it comes to her, you lokach behen karka, you buy land, fuhu ochel peros, and he again eats the fruits. So just like when it comes to the Yerusha, that's the same thing, that she gets to keep the principal, the karka, the land itself, and he gets the fruits. So my kamashmon. So the Gemara wonders, what is this coming to teach us? After all, Tanina, it sounds like we've learned all of this previously, where it says, Ha'avzaki b'vitoi, that this father is zeicha for his daughter b'kiddusheha b'kesem v'sharvabiyah, that when his daughter who is gets engaged, so he gets the money. Zakai b'metziasa, if she finds something, goes to the dad. However, he gets the masyadeha, her findings and her work. He annuls her vows, mekabel skita, just like he can be mekabel kedushin. So therefore, makash havalitzias. So he's also mekabel the get. He does not eat the fruits in her lifetime. However, Nises, when she gets married, Yasolav Abal, then the husband has the upper hand. Shehu oichel peres b'chayeha. Then he does get to eat her fruits. She keeps the karka, and the husband eats the fruits. Everything here sounds exactly the same. Your answer is you're right, but there's one thing missing. Baishta upagama, it's tzrichale. But put the Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Rabbanan. It doesn't mention over there anything about boshas bagam, for whatever reason, and therefore that's why it's mentioned here. Tani Tanik Kamei de Rava. So it was learned in front of Rava. Metzias Isha. So as we mentioned our Mishnah, anything she finds, it goes to her husband. But listen to this. It says no. Metzias Isha Atzma. There's actually an opinion that she keeps it. Rabbi Kiva Omer Labala, which sounds like our Mishnah. That Rabbi Kiva says that her Metzias, the things she finds, goes to her husband. Certainly Hashda, now Umaha Dafel. When it comes to the Masas, we continue to Samach Vamun Aleph. The Masya Dahi, when it comes to her extra work, if she works and she's supposed to give her Masya to her husband, but if she works extra, the Adafa, Omer Rabbi Kiva Atzma, so she gets to keep that. So Metziyasel Kol Shekain. So you would certainly say that she should keep the Metziyasa, what she finds, says Rashi. When it comes to Masya Dav, V'shayach L'meimer Shehi Shalo, the Masya Dav Tachas Mezainis. We know that the reason why she gives the Masya Deha is because the husband gives Mazonos. So it's a give and take relationship. So the question is, it's hard to understand, how could Rabbi Akiva say that when it comes to the Mitziasa, the found objects, that it should go to the husband? Because we know that when it comes to Hadafa, the extras which are linked to the Mitzia, to the Masya Deha, Rabbi Akiva says she has to keep that. So she gets to keep that, even though you would think maybe she doesn't get to keep the Hadafa because the Masya Deha goes to her husband, so maybe the Hadafa should also go. No, she gets to keep that. So shouldn't she also be able to keep the Mitzia? Did not, as we see. Person makes a neder. It's not even necessary to annul it, says Rashi. That whatever I do is going to be koinim to your mouth. I'm not going to give you any of your masya down. So So the masya down you don't need to be made for because she has a requirement to give it. However, the hadafa, that neder actually means something. Therefore, you should annul it because the hadafa really goes to her. So therefore, if Rabbi Akiva holds that the hadafa goes to her, shouldn't the mitzia, the things that she finds, also go to her? Switch it around. Mitzia seisha labala. Rabbi Akiva omer la'atzma. Must be Rabbi Akiva is the one that says, unlike our Mishnah, that she gets to keep it. So b'ha kiyasa rabban omer Rabbi Yochanan b'hadafa shlo alidei hadcha kolim lo pligi debal havoy. So it depends. If we're dealing with a situation where she worked extra, but it was shlo alidei hadchak, was without hard work. Alidei hadchak, Rashi says, again, shidach ka'atzma b'hadifa. She really pushed herself beyond her limits, and she ended up making a lot of extra money. That's called alidei hadchak. But if the extra money is shlo alidei hadchak, she just happened to make more money, and it didn't really cause much exertion for that. So everyone holds actually the husband will get. Key plea, the whole machlokus is bahadafa she'alidei hadchak. When she worked hard to make that extra money, in that situation, does her husband still get it, or does she get to keep it? So Tanakama Savar L'Bal, Rabbi Akiva Savar L'Atzma, that Rabbi Akiva says that she gets to keep it. But finding a lost object is not alidei hadchak. That's not considered to be hard work, and therefore it should go to the Baal. So therefore, l'chayra, we could actually say Rabbi Akiva is really not such a problem, because Rabbi Akiva maybe should say that when it comes to the Mitzia, those things should go to the husband because it's shlo alidei hadchak, and shlo alidei hadchak goes to the husband. So Rav Papa Mitziyasa kahadafa shlo alidei hadchak dami. For whatever reason, he says that Mitzia, finding something in certain respects, is difficult. And Rashi says the roy Mitzia sarach lach sarach, because you have to pursue it. Could go dogim nishar b'yibasha. If you have fish that are on the dry land, otzvi shavar, a donkey, a deer with a broken leg, olachape sima bekarka. So these are all different things in which could be time consuming, and therefore it does take effort. And therefore, because of that, that's the reason why he'll switch it and say, no, since it is alidei hadchak, that's the reason why she gets to keep the hadafa and the mitzia. So pluta Rabbi Akiva Rabbanon. So again, that is a machlokas Rabbi Akiva Rabbanon when it comes to the mitzia and hadafa sh'alidei hadchak. Bar Papa also shtayim b'vasachas mahu. If she did two at the same time, what's the din? Boy, Ravina Shleisho Dal Bavasachas Ma'oteku. So what exactly does this mean? It says Rashi, Shomeres Kishuyin. Let's say she guards gourds and cucumbers. V'toya Pishtan, and she's also sewing the garments. Umolem the Shil Anashim, she's teaching a song. B'schar, she's teaching women to sing, and she gets paid for that. Machamemes Beitzim, she's warming up eggs, B'cheka, in her bosom. So Mahu, mihavi ka'alidei hadchak olo. The fact that she's doing all this multitasking, how does that fall? And therefore, is that considered to be hadafa alidei hadchak or shlo alidei hadchak teku? Boishto pagama. So he said in our Mishnah that either, according to the Tanakama, the boishto pagam goes to her, or it's split up somehow, depending if it was a public or a goy, or it was a revealed wound or one which is concealed. So Maskam Rabba bar Rav Chanan El Miyata Biesh Susasai Shochaverai. If a person would literally embarrass the horse of his friend, so you have to give boishas to the owner of the horse. Whereas what are you talking about? So what is that talking about? A horse doesn't have the ability to be embarrassed. So I meant it differently. If you spit onto the garment of your friend, do you really have to give boishas to your friend if you spit on his clothes? So Gemara says, well, maybe you do. But tanan, if let's say you spit, and the spit reaches them, or for that matter, you take off the head covering of a woman, the hever talisu memenu, or you remove the garment from her, chayiv, litin lo arba me'azuz. These are all elements of embarrassment you do have to pay. That's only if it's on the skin of a bevigdo potter. If it's on the beged, it's potter. So my answer is because bevigdo leis zilusa. When it comes to a garment, spitting on someone's garment, that's not a lowly thing. But ishto isla zilusa. However, when it comes to the boshus pagam, it is an embarrassment for the woman. So Amali Ravino Ravashi El Miyata Biesh Ani Ben Toivim. Let's say you embarrass a poor person from a great background. So it's an embarrassment to the whole family. Do you have to give to the whole family? No. Amali no. Hasam Lav Gufaihu. You can't compare the two, because even though they come from a prominent family, the reality is it's not such a big deal because it's a separate person. But a person's wife, if you embarrass the wife, it's also an affront to the person too. Okay, question 9. Actually, we have a few questions here. Question 9. Hadafa damasi yadeha shalmi. The hadafa, who does it go to? So we saw shaloi deidchak, everyone holds it's the Baal. Ali deidchak, then it's a machlokas Tanakama and Rabbi Akiva. That was question 9. Okay. Question 10. Harokek b'chavero ha'im chayiv b'demei boishas. If you spit by your friend, are you chayiv? So bo chayiv b'vigdo potter. If you spit on his person, then yes, you're going to be chayiv. But if you spit on his clothing, that is not as bad, and therefore you're not chayiv to pay boshas for that. Okay, let's see if there's another question. There's no more questions on this whole daf as far as I see. Okay, for that, TA. No. Okay, so let's continue. All right, let's see now the next Mishnah. Hapoisek mois l'chasanoi. So you have a nice father-in-law, and he designates that he's going to give some money to his son-in-law. Umeis chasano, and then the guy dies. And Rashi says, "Enough with neyavam." So now his daughter is still going to marry, but he's going to marry this man's brother now. So the yavam says, "Listen, you're going to give all that money to my brother. My brother's dead, but I'm going to marry your daughter, so give me all that money." So on this, the Mishnah says, Amar Chachamim, Yochahu Shiyomer, the father-in-law can say, Le'achicha, to this brother, Hayisi Roitzalitain. I only want to give the money to him. However, L'cha I'ashilitain. I did not want to give it to you. And therefore, I'm not going to do so. Fine. Now the Mishnah continues and talks about the monies that she brings in. And the din is that when she brings money as part of a dowry, so it's going to be written into the ksuba, and the question is, does he have to contribute more or less? It's going to depend on what it is. So Pascal lahachniso elf dinner. If she makes a condition, she's going to give 1,000 dinner as part of the dowry. So who poisa keneged chamish esrei mana? So he should add to it an extra 500, says Rashi, which is shlish yoser yikabulav. So he should add a third above that, which is an extra 500. This all has to do with the time value of money. The fact that he's going to have this 1,000 now, so he's going to add to the ksuba, because now he's going to be able to benefit from this 1,000 dinner now, so he's going to add an additional 500 to the amount of the ksuba above the 1,000 for the benefit of using this money. Ukeneged hashum, let's say instead, ukeneged hashum, which is referring to assessed items, says Rashi, shetichneslo begadim ukelim. So it was evaluated because it's not actual money, but it's something which has value. It's like Shavah Kesef. So it was evaluated. Now, when it comes to garments, it works in the opposite direction because they lose value, they depreciate, and therefore paisik pachas chaimish. So in this situation, it's deducted a third. Again, it was 1,000 of garments assessed, so therefore it gets deducted 500 from the ksuba because again, it's as Rashi says, shimechnisa shum shel elf dinner hu kaisev ches meos zuz. Okay. Ches, maybe I think I should say hey meos zuz. Okay. Fine. Keneged hashum hu paisik pachus chaimish. A fifth less. Okay. Shum b'mana. Let's say it was evaluated for exactly 100. Vishav b'mana. In fact, that's how much it was evaluated for. Enu elamana. He includes this directly into the ksuba itself. Says Rashi. Hechnisa shum l'kabul la b'shtar ksuba b'mana v'hu shav b'mana b'shuk l'chol adam enu loimer tunuli oid chamishasai. So we don't say that this additional amount should be tacked on, this additional fifth. Shum b'mana, if let's say it was assessed at 100, he no senes shloishim ve'echad sela v'dinner. So she gives 31 sela and a dinner. And Rashi explains the significance of these numbers. If arba meyois, if let's say 400 is brought in, says Rashi, shum, was assessed, shikabel licht of arba meyois, so he no senes chamish meyois, so she will give 500. Fine. Ma shechasen, as we continue on Samach Vav Beis, ma shechasen paisek hu paisek pachos chaimish. And whatever was designated, so he will stipulate one fifth less. Tanu Rabbanan, ein sarach leimer rishain, ein sarach leimer rishain talmud chacham v'sheni am haaretz. We don't even need to mention, let's say the first guy he said, I'm going to give this money to, he was a Talmud Chacham, and the brothers on Am Haaretz, and certainly he has the ability to say, I'm not interested. Elafil Rishon Am Haaretz v'sheni Talmud Chacham. Yochel loy melachicha ha'yisa right zelitin lach i'af shilitin. So he can still say it doesn't matter even if this new guy is a much better match for his daughter. That doesn't make any difference. Paschal hafnasol el of dinner v'chul hainu reisha tanishuma rabbi v'katanishuma zuta tanishuma didei v'katanishuma dida. So all of the things are the same. It just mentions a large one and a small one, his and hers. Fine. Next Mishnah. Paschal hafnasol ksafim. So let's say she designates that she's going to bring in money, which again is similar to what we've said before. Sola nasa shisha dinarim. So if she brings in a sela, which is equivalent to 4 dinner, so he has to tack on an extra third, which is 6. Because again, since it's by cash, you can do business with it and profit, so he adds a third, as he benefits from it right away. Fine. As we said, but when dowry is a shum, is assessed materials, he deducts it by a third. Hachasin makabel olav asar dinarim. The chasin accepts upon himself 10 dinar, lakupa for this boisem, the besamim for this perfume, l'chol mana b'mana. So it all depends on the minhag if women wear this type of stuff. Hainu paisik kenegdam chamisha aser mana. So the question again is, l'chor, it's the exact same thing we said before, with 1,000, over here we're talking about a dinner, so tana iska rabba, tana iska zuta. It could be talking about, Rashi says, iska, ksafim kari iska. So it could be a lot of money or a little bit of money. Tana iska rabba, the nafish ravcha. If you have a lot of money, so you could certainly do a lot of business with a lot of extra money. Iska zuta, the zuta Ravcha imalo tzricha. Maybe if she only bring in a small amount of money, so you don't have to add anything to it. Yashminan iska zuta, the zuter zeyuna. Says Rashi, yitzia v'achrayas. There's not as much of a responsibility on this. However, when she's bringing all this money, it's a much bigger responsibility. They have to deal with all this money, so maybe you shouldn't have to add to it. So he's supposed to be Mikabel and give her extra for perfume. So my kupa, so Ravashi kupa shel b'samim. Yom Ravashi lo nemer devarim halolu elu b'Yerushalayim. This whole notion is only in Yerushalayim. Says Tosfos, the Hadi Amrinan beperek Taraf bekalpi in Masechtas Yuma. That really no woman needed perfume in Yerushalayim. The Ketairis were so powerful that the smell that came from the Ketairis in the Kodesh. So they don't really need it for perfume. They did it to smear onto their onto their flesh. So they used it for other purposes, to removing hair, again to beautify themselves, but they didn't really need it for the smell, interestingly enough. Boy Rav Ashi, b'mana hanishum or b'mana hamiskabel, says Rashi, haylochol man b'mana. When it says in the Mishnah that again he's supposed to give is makabel 10 dinarim for this, l'chol man b'mana. When it says that, is it lafi cheshmin hashuma kaimer? Is it based on this calculation? Lafi cheshmin shumakabel nulav dahainu pachas chaimish, or is it the after the deduction of a fifth? So imtem s'loimer mana miskabel yom rishon o kol yom b'yom. How often is this given? Once a week? Every day? Imtem s'loimer kol yom b'yom Shabbos rishayna o kol Shabbos v'Shabbos. Is it just the first Shabbos? Rashi says, "En yodei yashiv seder bayos halolu lafi shitas hashas." It's hard to really understand exactly what these questions are. V'nir be'enai shekein sidrin yom rishon o kol yom b'yom. Is it the first day or every day? V'imtim salomer kol yom b'yom every day. Shabbos rishona o kol Shabbos hashas. Is it the first week or every week? V'imtim kol Shabbos hashas. Chodesh rishon o kol chodesh v'chodesh. Is it 1 month or every month? V'imtim kol chodesh v'chodesh. Shana rishona o kol shana v'shana. It makes sense that that's the flow. V'imtim salomer kol Shabbos hashas every single week. Chodesh rishon o kol chodesh v'chodesh. You have to give every month. In terms of kol chodesh v'chodesh, shana rishayna, or kol shana v'shana, teiku. Amar Rabbi Huda, Amar Rab, Ruchen Taisus, Yom Rishon o kol yom b'yom, harbe tamiyos, elu habayos, im yitin lo oilam. If you have to give it continuously, kinemasik o kol shana v'shana, so eser din o kol mana v'mana, v'yoim, kama b'meheru yechela oisa hamamoin. You're going to lose all your money given this. Okay, Ayin Taisus. Amr Yehuda Marab Masa Bavito Shel Nakdiman Ben Gurion. So it's a story of Nakdiman Ben Gurion's daughter that Shapaskal Chachamim Arba Meas Zehuvim Lakupa Shel Basamim, that they designated this absorbent amount of money for these Basamim Labo Yoim. Says Rashi L'tzarech Yom Echad, for need of one day. Armolhen Kach Tifsku Livnoi Seichem V'Onu Acharei Amein. So it should be that this is how much should be designated for these daughters, and they said amen. Talking about Masab Rav Yochanan Zakha Shahayu Reichav al Chamor. She was riding on a donkey. B'hayu Yitzim Yerushalayim. He was leaving Yerushalayim. B'hayu Talmidim Mahalchan Acharav. And his students were going after him. Ra Riva Achas Shahayisa Milaketes Sa'oirim. He saw that there was this woman that was gathering up barley. Mebein Gilei Behemton, among the dung of the animals, shel arbiyim. Kivan shir also Isa, when she saw us, this atva besara, she wrapped up her hair. The amdul fanavin, she stood in front of us. Amrolo, so she said to us, Rabbi, parnaseni, please, I need food. Amrullah biti, mi'at, who are you? Amrullah bas Nakdiman ben Gurion. I am the daughter of Nakdiman ben Gurion. I believe this is Gemara in Gittin. Amrullah biti mamun shel beis avich hechan halach. I don't understand. I thought you had all this money, because I remember even for Besamim you had all this. So Amrullah Rabbi lo kedin matlin mativ Yerushalayim. Says Rashi v'lo kachayim moishlim mashal Yerushalayim. This is like the what people say in Yerushalayim. melech mammon chaser, that salt money is lost. Says Rashi, haroitza limloich memoino, someone literally who wants to salt his money, kleimer ligrum lo shiskayim, that he wants to cause it to remain, yachserenu sadaka, then it should be tamid v'chesreinu zehu kiyumo. By you losing your money, that's a way for you to keep it. So that if you want your money to be preserved, which is melech mammon chaser, you should give it away. And giving away tzedakah, that's a way of actually maintaining your money. Yermula chesed, perhaps she said kindness. Says Rashi, b'shel beis abba lo asu tzedakah karoi v'kol mamoinon, saying that unfortunately the reason why we lost all this money is because we didn't give tzedakah. Shel beis hachamich heichenu. So exactly where are they? So this one came and lost the other one. Says Rashi Lafi Shins Arevlo. They're all connected. So Amalo as a guarantor. Amalo Rabbi Zacharata. Do you remember Kishe Chasamta al Ksubasi, that when you signed it on my Ksuba? So do you remember that what it was said over there? Amalo Talmid of Zachani. I remember Kishe Chasamti al Ksubasa, when I signed it Shalzu on this woman, it was thousands upon thousands of dollars. Not even excluding from the other side. So he started crying and he said, when we do the right thing, in kol uma v'lashon shaletzes behen, no one can control and has any dominion over us. However, when we do not do the right thing, then we're put in the hands of a lowly nation. Even the animals, says Rashi, are bi'im, Kari Uma Shafal, it's a lowly nation. Sheshaychni Ohalim Heima Midbar. They live in tents in the wilderness. The Nakdim and Ben Gurion Ovid Tzedakah. This whole thing is hard to understand. Nakdim and Ben Gurion was a tzaddik. How can we say he didn't give tzedakah? Lasanya. Amulav al Nakdim and Ben Gurion. Kishayisa Yetzim Beisai Labeisa Medrash. When he left his house and he went to shul, Kalei Milas Hoyu. He had these silk garments. As we continue to Samach Zayin Amid Aleph. Matzian tachtav, says Rashi, tachas raglav v'halach lehem. He had them underneath his feet to walk on them. Uvoina niyim, and poor people would come. Umikaplin oisan miacharav, and they would take these silk garments from him. So what do you mean he didn't give tzedakah? He gave the finest of silks to the poor. So iboy say melchvaydehu davad. Maybe he only did this for his own honor. Or you can say kideboyle Lamevid lo avad. That which he was able to do, he didn't do. Kidi amri inshi lafum gamla shichna. That according to a donkey, so is how much it should carry. Says Rashi lafi kayach gamal yatinuhu masa. So even though it's true, maybe he did tzedakah, but he didn't do it to the extent that he could have. Tanya Omer Rebbe Lezer Reb Tzadok Ereb Nechama. I will see consolation in lower Iseha Shahisa Milaketis Sa'irim Mibain Talfe Susim Ba'akoi. That seeing the gathering of this barley between the hooves of horses in Akko. Karisa Leha Mikrazeh. And upon seeing this, he recalled the pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Im lo tidilach. If I do not know you, Hayafa Benashim, the beauty of women, se'ilach be'ikvi hatzoin, that you will be by the heels of the sheep. Re'i es gidiosayach, and the pastor of these kids, al tikru gidiosayach ella giviosayach, your bodies. Says Rashi, im lo titin leiv knesses Yisrael lishmor as a Torah. If you don't keep the Torah, then unfortunately soifech lotzes be'ikvi hatzoin v'liros es gidiosayach, that you're going to need to gather up all these different things. So even though he left these precious carpets and silks for the aniyim, maybe that still wasn't enough. We're going to stop there. Let's see if there's a question. T-A, no. T-B, no. Adkan.